Cool. So today we are going to do module 2 and module 3, where in module 2 we are going to discuss about the vSAN introduction part, just to get more granular level understanding what is vSAN and yeah, how it works actually. Okay. Well, if you'll say importance perspective, understanding the logical architecture and relationship between vSAN elements. Elements is primarily the key components, provide the necessary foundation to build the overall software-defined data center. Okay. So probably this software-defined data center would be pretty new term for you, like especially for the Sridhar. So when we say the SDDC, software-defined data center, okay. So in software-defined data center, we are more talking about the all my components are software-defined. When I say like, if I'll compare it with the traditional data center 3-tier architecture, in traditional tier again, yesterday I have discussed, let me make a small picture here again. This is my network layer. This is my compute layer. And this is my storage layer. Okay. So this is managed in a discrete manner. When we say discrete, each component is separate. My network functionality is separate. My compute server functionality is separate. And there should be always some physical component available. And also my storage functionality is separate. But when we say the software defined data center, it actually means is all my parts being software defined. Okay. So when I will say how the compute being software defined, here we are putting some hypervisor, primarily the ESXi from entire vSphere suite from VMware, and the network functionality, we are achieving the software defined networking component, that is my NSXT, and we are achieving the storage functionality by software defined storage, that is my vSAN. Okay. So this is my software defined compute, software defined network, and this is my software defined storage. Okay. So all these three components together create a software defined data center. Okay. So most probably this term will be very much repeated, and where if you will see the customer across the world using 3-tier data center, now they are planning to move the software defined data center. Okay. But important thing here is like, sir, can the software defined data center replace my network switch itself? Answer is no. Still your network switches will be there for the physical communication and physical connectivity across your ESXi. Still my data is traveling from the switches and routers. But yeah, most of the functions of like here on switch level, we are doing number of things. On router level, we are doing number of things, kind of routing, and my security devices level, I am doing some level of things, kind of implementing firewall, managing the traffics and all. Okay. So most of the functions are managed by this software defined network component, that is my NSXT. Okay. When I say function, like I can do kind of routing here, I can do the switching is saying creating different network subnets, communication between them, managing the traffic by inbuilt firewall inside the NSXT. So in this case, actually my traffic is not moving forward to the physical device. That all being managed on the software device itself. Same way, all my storage functions is managing by the vSAN. Okay. Yeah, we'll keep on discussing. Slowly, you'll get more details on it. But just for reference here, what is software defined data center? This software defined data center primarily made up of three components. My software defined compute, that is VMware vSphere, that software defined network NSXT, and software defined storage. Actually, this is SDS. Software defined storage is my vSAN. Okay. All right. So, well, this module is more focused on vSAN introduction again. So what we are going to discuss in it, describe the vSAN, review the different type of vSAN architecture, explore the different uh, types of implementation, then distinguish between the vSAN disks configuration. We'll talk a lot, don't worry about it. So when we say what is a vSAN, what would be the smallest definition? It's an aggregated storage from different hypervisor, that is my ESXi devices, and they have tried to build an enterprise storage solution. And it have the full integration with my vSphere. So vSphere is nothing, just a feature set that we are getting from ESXi or the vCenter. So when we say vSAN include the distributed layer of software, this 7 software actually itself vSAN capability. What is vSAN capability? It's in a form of software that is inbuilt in my ESXi hypervisor. Okay, to enable the vSAN feature, this is something inbuilt my ESXi hypervisor. Just beside the hypervisor features, it's also have an storage capability and storage software, you can say, that's have vSAN. So this is inbuilt. So what you need to do, you have to just click something there and this feature will be enabled. That is inside. You don't need to kind of install any separate virtual machine or separate appliance or separate physical device. This is in my inbuilt feature in my ESXi hypervisor. Okay. Then it will aggregate the local storage together into a single cluster. So what it means is, like you can see here, this is my ESXi host 1, this is 2, this is 3. So what it's doing is actually whatever the local storage. So you can assume it here. This is the local storage of first ESXi, this is second, and this is third. So once you'll enable the vSAN feature, that's we called as an vSAN cluster, it will be aggregating. Aggregating means it is collecting. It is merging them logically, and it's making an pool of a club, a logical pool of all these disks together and make one storage to be present on ESXi host that we refer as vSAN data store. Then it's a utilize a distributed network for hosts communication. So definitely all my storage traffic, all my synchronization will happen over the physical network layer, and on each ESXi host, I have to dedicate a network connection type. Okay, that's we refer as my vSAN traffic. So inside each ESXi host, I have to create some VM kernel port, and we have to dedicate the function as vSAN. Okay, that VM kernel port take over the entire traffic out and inside my ESXi host to get the storage synchronization across these ESXi host. Then you say enhance server hardware resources. Definitely, we going to use in an appropriate manner and optimized manner the available CPU, the available underlying memory. We are getting more utilization. So from where my vSAN functionality and all take the resources, definitely it's going to consume the underlying CPU and memory for the vSAN purpose. So what we'll say, like we always keep 10 to 20% reservation of my CPU and memory resources for the vSAN functionality. Okay. Then he say reduce the data center requirement for power and cooling. Definitely, just because of that, we are not using the separate storage fabric, separate storage switches, or separate storage devices, because everything is in compute. So this, instead of I should make the number of other storage devices, kind of storage switches, storage boxes and all. So it is being taken care by single host. So that's why definitely if I am replacing the multiple host, multiple physical device by a single device, it's reducing. Somewhere it's reducing the uh, more logistic, more power requirement, more boxes, more administration. Okay, we good so far?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, Kuldeep. Yes, sir.
So, so let me clean up the slide. Otherwise, if it will save, it will go in the entire slide. Okay. One moment. Let me just take one blank slide for reference. So in next, it is talking about the vSAN cluster type. When we say vSAN cluster, first of all, let's understand what is a vSAN cluster actually. So hope you guys are familiar with the vSphere cluster. Okay. So what is vSphere cluster?
Group of ESX.
Correct. Group of ESXi host where we can enable number of features, kind of your HA, DRS, your fault
FT, yeah.
and lot of another features, right? So vSphere cluster means somewhere you are clubbing or you are making a group of available compute and memory resources, right? So what it will do, it will make a pool, right? When it's a vSphere cluster, like for example, this host have 1 TB memory, this host have 3 gigahertz of CPU total. Again, each host have the same configuration, correct? 1 TB, 3 gigahertz, 1 TB, 3 gigahertz, 1 TB, 3 gigahertz. So when I'll do clustering, the first function is it will make a pool of memory. Now total pool of memory is 4 TB and 14 gigahertz is the CPU, right? So somewhere it is pulling my compute and memory resources and further distributing among the virtual machine along with lot of features like high availability, DRS and FT. Okay. So when we say the vSAN cluster, so when we add this additional layer of vSAN cluster, what it will do, again, it will pooling, like for an example, this host have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Same way, this host have these are the underlying local storage. When I say local, these disks are connected locally. So once I'll enable the vSAN clustering feature, it is pulling the underlying storage and make a one group. Again, I will take like 1 TB from it. It could go approximately 48 TB kind of stuff, right? So anytime when we enable the vSAN cluster, we have to take care, like if somewhere like in a greenfield just a new deployment where we need to deploy the vSAN cluster. First of all, we have to enable vSAN cluster, then we should enable the vSphere cluster. Okay, that's a sequence always. Like first you will enable the vSAN capability, then you will enable the kind of vSphere capability. Okay, same way when you are removing, it's a way of building. First you will make it, and when you are trying to destroying the cluster, removing it, so the removal process is reverse means first you will disable all these features, then you can disable the vSAN feature. Okay, but important thing here is like if you will disable the vSAN cluster feature from the ESXi, definitely like, well, first, like you have enabled disable the HADRS and all, then those hosts will be again a single isolated pod. Okay. But once you will disable the vSAN cluster feature, the underlying disk will go in isolated way, but still you cannot use them because those are being utilized one time for vSAN. So they will have the vSAN metadata. So you have to somewhere clean up these disk. Okay, rescan and clean up so that in future you can utilize them. Okay, so now the question being asked, sir, how we can, I mean, what are the different ways, what are the different topologies a customer have one node host, can we enable the vSAN cluster, or customer have 2 node, 3 node, 4 node? What are the different scenarios of building the vSAN cluster? Okay, so now let us see about those scenarios. So the first way of building the vSAN cluster that we refer as single site vSAN cluster. When we say single site vSAN cluster, it means is we are talking about a single data center, single network fabric, a common network connections between all the ESXi host. So where we are referring is one site. For an example, like customer have multiple site, maybe one in Sydney, maybe another in US somewhere, maybe another in Europe region, kind of that. Okay. So he could have a data center in Sydney, he could have New York, or maybe he could have the London. Okay. So if I am talking about single data center, single network fabric, that is my single site vSAN cluster deployment. How many nodes we can take? A single site standard cluster, we can put 3 to 64 host. Okay, minimum 3, and you can go up to 64 host. Also, we can, again, it is not like you are limited to make one site, one cluster. You can make another pool of your ESXi host and you can deploy multiple cluster within that site. You are not limited to like just one cluster, could be multiple, but again, to make a pool, there should be common network fabric, common storage. When I say storage connections, for the storage connections, there should be the common network fabric at all. So somewhere customer talk about, yeah, I have a remote site and there I don't want too many nodes. Like I can survive only with 2 nodes. Okay. I can survive only with 2 nodes. I don't require much hardware because I am spinning up only my 10, 20, or 50. Like there is multiple remote sites for the customer. There also you have a choice. You can deploy with 2 node, but when you will deploy with 2 nodes or 2 hosts, you require one witness site. When you say witness site, a witness is maintaining your quorum just to check the liveness of your available ESXi host. So this witness node is required. So what is this witness node? So again, this witness node is a kind of specialized operating system that's only play the role of witness. Okay. So this witness comes as a form of appliance or directly to a physical server. So you can use this witness node, maybe directly physical server, then you put that witness operating system, or you can use single host and you can make a virtual machine, and inside this virtual machine you can install this witness operating system. It is kind of your mini, I would not say the entire ESXi. It's based on ESXi kernel itself, but it is not a complete ESXi. It is just play the role of witness. Witness is something that is maintaining the health, checking the health of the ESXi host running in well condition. Okay. After all, like you have to complete the 3 node. That's why it's one witness node. Then another scenario is vSAN stretch cluster. When you say the vSAN stretch cluster, it means that in vSAN stretch cluster, again, like you have a particular region, and within that particular region, you have 2 nearby availability zone. Okay. When I say the availability zone definition is these are 2 nearby sites for the customer where they have good network bandwidth connectivity and all. We'll be talking in detail, don't worry about it. Then that case, like one set of hosts, one set of node you can put here, one set of node you can put in another nearby availability zone. Okay. After all, it would be a single cluster, but this cluster is stretched. When I say stretched across two availability zone means across two physical locations. There is some terms and conditions that we'll talk in detail. Don't worry about that. Still, when you are making the stretch cluster, it also require a witness site. When I say witness site, on witness site, there should be one appliance which is playing the role of witness. Okay. Yeah, there is certain prerequisites and all that we'll talk in detail. Just for high level understanding here, what is a stretch cluster? A stretch cluster where my single vSAN cluster is stretched between two availability zone, between two nearby sites of the customer. And the advantage of a stretch cluster over the standard cluster, what we can do, we can, whatever we are running here, okay, all the data will be automatically copied here as well. So this is the key advantage of a stretch cluster. My data will be automatically placed on secondary side too. If this side goes down, then the automatically running VMs here will be restarted on the secondary side. I don't need to make another disaster recovery solution. So it's vice versa. Like I can use in active standby, active standby. Anyway, that's all depend upon the design decision and the customer requirement. So this is another scenario. And the fourth one.
Sir, I
Yeah.
have a question. For
Yes.
stretch cluster, sir,
Yeah.
this is more of like replication, like vSphere replication and, those solutions.
No. That's not
How does
the replication. This is the vSAN storage policy actually. So when we do stretch any cluster, just I'm not going in too much detail, just for high level. When I say
okay,
storage policy you will deploy in two way. One is across the site, second is local site. When I say across the site, let's for example, I have over to this stretch cluster, I have make a storage policy RAID 1. Okay, RAID 1.
okay,
So what it means is I am applying this policy to the across the site. So whatever data, yeah, definitely a VM will be hosted on one site only. But as per this across the site policy, when I will write the data, because as per the RAID 1, there would be two copy, correct? One
correct, yes,
go this side and another copy go this side. So automatically, as per the storage policy. Then again, as I said, when you will implement the stretch cluster, there would be two storage policy. One is across the site, second is local site. Then what it will do, once my data will be placed here as per the first policy, there would be second policy also that we refer as secondary failure to tolerate policy. What it will do, it will make a local copy here also. Whatever data comes on the top, it will make local. So in this way, my data is protected locally also, and like I have the one copy across the site also. In this way,
okay,
data being protected across the site. Okay. Again,
understood.
it's just a very high level understanding. We'll talk too much in details, but just for your understanding for now. Okay. It's not a
Okay,
application. It is just a special type of storage policy.
storage policy. Okay, okay,
Then fourth way of creating the topology, that is HCI mesh. That's pretty new, introduced right now. That is what happens is, if I am making, again, it's for the local clusters only. If I will make a vSAN cluster, probably you could see this is my underlying vSAN cluster. So once I'll make the new cluster, or you can take it anyway, either it is my older one or new one. So one cluster become the master and another becomes the kind of slave. So the same vSAN data store can be replaced. When I say same, so let me do some whiteboarding here for better understanding. For example, you have make a first vSAN cluster. Okay. So once you make a first vSAN cluster, you consume here probably, for example, here 3 nodes, and out of 3 nodes, you make a vSAN data store of, like for example, 10 TB. Okay. Now you would say, sir, I have the sufficient storage for now, but I'm lacking with compute and memory. Okay, if I'll purchase another host and I'll add in the same cluster, that will come with the same configuration, compute plus storage, then my storage will be surplus. I mean, that's beyond the requirement. So I don't want to bear that kind of cost. Only my storage is enough, but I want to purchase only some compute. So in that case, what you do, you just bring up the compute node. Those don't have the local storage for vSAN especially. Definitely they will be having some storage that's for on hypervisor purpose only. Okay, so when I will configure the vSAN cluster here, so they will leverage the same vSAN data store. Okay, they will leverage the same vSAN data store. So in this case, when I'll start to building the vSAN cluster, I will select either I have to make local data store or I am going to leverage the remote vSAN data store. So in this case, I will choose the remote vSAN data store and I'll be leveraging this one. So that's another architecture. Okay, clear?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Yes, Kuldeep. So we are not in this one, in this the third one, we are not taking storage, only compute and remaining part will be using.
Absolutely.
Yes, okay. So in that case, you have two options, right? Either local data store or remote vSAN connection, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
To
Like
configure.
once you in vSphere it onwards, when you will start to build the vSAN cluster, you will get options. Either you can select the remote vSAN data store also. Okay.
That is mesh one, right? The HCI mesh.
HCI mesh.
Okay.
That term is referred as HCI mesh because we are meshing the vSAN data store, right? Across multiple ones. That's HCI mesh. And some people ask, sir, when I do start to build, can I do some native testing just for vSAN purpose? Yes, that's also possible. Within one node, you can make even a one node host by enabling the vSAN feature. But definitely you will not get a lot of things here. But what you can do is you can check what are the features set available. You will not get any kind of redundancy, right? Lot of things there. So when you will deploy, if you have deployed recently the vCenter, probably you get a choice, enable vSAN for this host. If you will check that, so what will happen? Whatever host you are consuming here, it will enable the vSAN feature. When you will go on vCenter console, you definitely there would be some warning, you will not get redundancy and all, but still you can check all the available vSAN tabs. So if you just want to evaluate, yeah, what all are the features in vSAN, I'm pretty keen to see them, where it is, how it is, but I don't have too much money to spending on it, right? I don't want to take an enterprise kind of thing. So that's the kind of just for native testing of vSAN feature, you can enable the vSAN on single node also. But again, that's not the production ready environment, and we should not prefer to go the setup into the production environment. Okay, so what it will do, it will enable the vSAN feature and it will make a vSAN data store, whatever the disk you have taken here. In this case, you don't require any kind of witness or something because it is just for the native feature testing itself. So that's another topology. They have not showcased here. That's fine, just because that's not the production ready environment at all. Okay. So we have discussed 4-5 scenario. Most of them, I would say 90% people is using it. Where people, I would say 80%, where people are not prefer to spend any kind of DR solution, they can go with vSAN stretch cluster. But again, vSAN stretch cluster have some specific prerequisites. If you are filling those specific prerequisites, then you will be able to make that. Then best use case for consuming the 2-node cluster, that is only when we are using some remote site and we don't spend too much. Okay. So now you will say, sir, for each remote site, do I need to purchase a separate witness? Then it will again make my investment more. You don't need. What you need to do, choose a third site. Like just assume a scenario where you have 4 5 remote sites. Okay, like 2 nodes you want to put here, 2 nodes you want to put here, 2 nodes you want to put here. So then, do you need to spend the money to make separate witness for it? Ideally, no. First of all, it's depend upon your regions and availability. If they are near in region, so you can make a single physical host here. Okay, on the top of single physical host, you can put 3 separate appliance and you can treat them as witness. Okay, like for site 1, this is my witness 1. Site 2, this is my witness 2. Site 3, this is my witness 3. Okay, or another way of doing it, you have the remote site, right? But now you definitely will be have the primary data centers also, right? Then primary data center site you can leverage as the witness site itself. That's also a possible scenario. Okay, again, as I said, it's all depend upon the customer requirement. If customer does not have, like a small customer, a retail customer, they don't want to spend across the major data centers, so that's not a problem. Just put one remote site. Like for example, you want to plan some business in India and you just putting some servers in Delhi, some Gurgaon, Noida, maybe in Bangalore, like that. Okay, choose one site, put a witness physical server. Okay, or maybe you can make a small cluster here also, 2 or 3 node cluster. Then put your witness appliances here. Along with, you can leverage those ESXi hosts for your another workload also. That's not a problem at all. Okay, so for all of them, this will become my witness site. Okay, so these are the different scenarios at to using the vSAN deployment. Now let's talk about the vSAN data store. So vSAN data store is again a aggregated pool of my local storage. Those are available. So what features it's giving? First of all, a single cluster wide data store. What it means? It means that is, in a single cluster, whatever data store I am creating, all the hosts can leverage it. Managed through vCenter, correct? Easily scalable. I'll talk scalability in detail. What is scalability here is, when we say scalability, like for example, today I have 10 TB. Can I increase up to 20 TB? Answer is absolutely yes. But again, some terms and condition you need to follow. Storage policies we can apply. Appears like any simple like as an data store. Okay. So what it's doing is, whatever the available ESXi host you want to leverage, it is just pulling them together and just presenting as a single data store. Okay. And how you will create it? You will create from the vCenter server console, and that will present as a vSAN data store. Okay. What you can put in the data store? You can use leverage anyway, like putting your VMs, putting your images, template, just to use for kind of Kubernetes container, any kind of cloud native app. Anyway, you can use it in multiple ways. Okay. So what type of storage being provided by the vSAN? Okay. When I say what type, like the native capability of vSAN data store, that's referred as object-based. When I say object-based, you can store your VM's data, VM file, your images. Okay. It will store in the form of object at all. Okay. Like for a smallest unit of storing your data in the VM, that is my object. Then it provided the VMFS block-based storage. When I say the block-based storage, it means like if we want to leverage the underlying data, some of, like for example, it have the underlying data store is 50 TB. Out of that, 1 TB I want to use as in block storage. Can I use it? Answer is absolutely yes. How we can? Like for that, we have to enable some features here that we refer as iSCSI target. Once you enable this iSCSI target feature here, it will make the chunk of storage as per my requirement. Let us suppose I require a 1 TB of block storage. That 1 TB of block storage will be available. Then that block storage can be shared to my VMs. So in your definition, what is the best use case of sharing the block storage across multiple VMs? Any idea, Sarvan, Banu? Where we refer to give the common block storage to the multiple VMs. Audible?
Basically to, so that all the A6Is can have access to that, sir. Like remotely. I don't know what is the purpose here. Sorry.
So, yeah, definitely if we are using traditional data store, we access that block storage. But now it's an example to give the block storage to the virtual machines. So we prefer to give the common block storage, especially when we are using the term clustering, right? If we want to make kind of SQL DB cluster that required a common storage, maybe the Oracle, maybe some Exchange server and all, right? So there we prefer to give the block storage directly to your VMs, correct?
Yes.
So that's the use case. And the file storage, file again an NFS. So where we can make the files a pool of shares. These are my NFS shares, and those NFS share further can be share your virtual machines. Okay, can be share your virtual machines to put their data. Like for example, we have a group of project where we want to put a common repository. So I can make a file share. I can further share the same file share to these 2-3 VMs. Okay. So now what VMware is trying to do, like if we go a step back before vSAN. So vSAN so far just an alternative of the underlying data stores only. Okay. But like lot of asks comes from customer. Yeah, you are giving me the vSAN, that's fine. But still for making, provide the block storage for the VMs, right? Or maybe like the file storage, okay? So VM native files, when we say VM native files, this is the VM folder, maybe VM snapshot, or maybe your virtual machine disks. Okay, these are the virtual machine native files. So for putting your native files, you have provided me the vSAN data store. I am fine. But if I want to make some clustered VMs, cluster means VM level clustering. Those require the shared storage. What solution you have? Then we can say, Mr. Customer, I mean VMware say, I don't have any solution for that. Still, you have to dependent on some additional block level of storage solution. So for that, our compulsion was we have to give some block storage to the ESXi host. Then further that block storage will be shared as a common volume to these VMs. But that problem vSAN resolve now. vSAN say you don't need to go outside just to make an additional fabric and all, just to making clustering. And if you are required block storage, now I have an inbuilt solution. What I'll do for you, whatever the vSAN data store I have created, I have make the capability to create the iSCSI target on that. And that iSCSI, what this target will do from the underlying vSAN data store, it will make a chunk of a block storage. It's a form of raw storage, and it will be assigned to your VM. Now you don't need to spend on external fabric. The third one, where people who are using the traditional NFS share, they put a separate, again, a separate storage, especially for NAS or NFS solution, and they provide that storage to the VMs. Now vSAN say you don't need to go outside. Now I have the capability. I can make the file share itself, and wherever you are required, utilize that as a file share also. So now we could say vSAN is a complete enterprise storage now, which is giving you all the options to store your data in multiple format. Either you can store in the object, block, or a file system, right? So if I'll compare with the any cloud provider, like for AWS, Azure, still those people have some limitation. Those are giving you the object storage, those are giving you some file solutions in form of NFS, but still they are not here. I mean, any of the cloud provider, if you will go on AWS, Azure, it might be you guys have some experience with that. You cannot share a common storage. You cannot directly purchase block storage and you can give to the VMs. Anyway, there is another alternatives, like simply you make one VM as a storage box, put a SCSI target, and from that you giving it. But you will not get that such kind of performance equivalent to your block storage. But now vSAN, VMware vSAN is claiming, like, now I have the full-fledged families of storage. You can go and you can leverage them. Okay.
Yeah, cool.
Yep, understood.
So let us see how much success they are on ground. Okay, that's all is still a question mark. We cannot say straightforward, yeah, you are directly replacing the block storage solution or file storage solution. There is a lot of if and buts, and actually it will be, practically truth when it will come on ground itself. Now let's talk a little bit about the disk configuration. So when we create the vSAN, it will pull your disks, right? And when it will pull your disk from any of one host, it will refer as a disk group. A host will create a group of disk. This will called a disk group. So it means that each host which is participating in vSAN data store, they will create their own disk group, and further these disk group will pull together and present as a vSAN data store. Okay. So when we say a disk group, within a disk group, there would be two type of disk. One is cache and one is your data. When we say the cache disk, like you could see here, this green separate symbol, this cache disk will cache your read and write data. It will not actually show you as a capacity drive. I mean, you cannot directly, it is just caching your read and writes, just make your read and write process faster to the underlying disk. If I will take from this group like this, if there is each disk capacity is 1 TB, then only for the actual storage, you will be getting 4 TB, not this one. Okay. So the key function of cache just to cache the read and write data to make better performance for your data read and write. Where I would say data disk, data means that actually is storing your data. Like these blue disks are actually storing your data. These are my data disks. Okay. So this disk group combination can be hybrid or can be all flash. When I say hybrid, it means that cache would be my SSD drive and capacity would be my HDD drive. Where I say all flash, my cache would be SSD and my capacity will also be SSD. So that's my all flash. Okay. So now question comes, sir, can we have one host hybrid, one host with all flash? Answer is no. Whenever any disk group from the node is participating to make vSAN data store, all disk group should be either hybrid or either flash. Okay. Now, questions come, sir, you are creating a disk group, but we are not still sure within a disk group how many disks we can. Okay. So within a disk group, one disk group, we can make one cache drive and 7 capacity drive. 7 capacity drive. Okay. Now next question comes, sir, within one host, are we limited to one disk group only? No, you can go up to maximum 5 disk group. How many? 5. So in that case, your simple calculation would go, the per host, I can make 5 disk group. In each disk group, I would have 7 capacity definitely, or plus 1 cache per disk. Okay. Then I can simply multiply it, 35 capacity drive and 5 cache drive, correct? From each host. So this is the capability of one host maximum. But again, this should be homogeneous. When I say homogeneous, it means the configuration should be equivalent on each host. For example, if I'll go to maximums, maximum from each host, there could be 5 disk group, and each disk group, there would be 1 cache and 7 capacity. Same way here, 1 cache, 7 capacity, 1 cache, 7 capacity, 1 cache, 7 capacity, again 1 cache, 7 capacity. Okay. But as I said, if I am leveraging it on one host, the same configuration should be available on rest of the hosts as well. Okay. All right. And second thing, we cannot mix. Like for example, you say, sir, there are 3 all flash disk group, 2 hybrid. Can we merge it? No. Answer is always no. We cannot merge all flash disk group with hybrid disk groups. Okay. First thing. Second thing, sir, can we keep here 5 disk group or another host 3 or 2? Answer is no. In that case, my vSAN data store only sends the least numbers. When I say least number, for example, you are saying, sir, on yes, I am making 4 node cluster. On first host, I have 5. Second host, I have 4 disk group. Third host, I have 3. And again, for 4 host, I have 3. Then it will only consume 3 disk groups from each of the host. It will not factor rest of the disk groups. Okay. So it will consider only the least numbers. So that's why again and again, I'm saying there should be a homogeneous configuration for each of the nodes which are participating with respect to disk type, with respect to number of disks, with respect to disk group type, with respect to number of disk group also. Correct? We clear?
Yes, sir, yeah.
If now we talk a little bit about scalability. So scalability means is, when we say, that's an important thing to understand here. When we say scalability means something we are increasing or decreasing, correct? That term is referred as the scalability. So when you hear the technical terms about scalability, there is 2 things comes in picture: scale up and scale out. Scale up and scale out. Scale up, we also called as horizontal scalability, and scale out we refer as vertical scalability also. Okay. So when are we saying scale up? Scale up means is, for example, today, just take this example. You have one disk group, and within one disk group, you have 4 ESX, 4 capacity. But now you are saying, sir, somewhere I am lacking from capacity. What should I do? So in this case, you can increase the available disks, right? So this example is scale up. Okay, this is
So
my
we have to do constantly for all the hosts, right?
absolutely. That's what I'm
Even
repeating again and again.
even distribution, correct? Yes.
Yeah, correct. Else it will take the minimum one.
Minimum, the low count. Yes.
Yeah, correct. When we say scale out, now you are saying, sir, now what I'm saying is this node have the capability at all to increase the disk. It is full now. We cannot increase the disk. We don't have sufficient slot, blah, blah things due to number of restriction. So that case, we should do scale out. When we say scale out, we are bringing the same configuration, one more new node, and just add into the existing cluster. That term is called as scale out or vertical scalability. Okay. You will be keep on hearing the IT word lot of things. Scale up, scale out, but people get confused actually. Okay. Scale up means something you are scaling up the existing one. Scale out something you are adding some new thing there. I mean, similar kind of nodes. This term is pretty common in case of compute, storage, network, secure, any kind of that. Okay. Do we have this scale up capability? We should not say straightforward, yes, we have. First of all, you say, yeah, let me check if there is some possibilities of increasing the resources in existing one. That's fine. And scale out means is like now you don't have the capability to scale up more just because of that hardware limitation. Maybe that these slots are not available there at that point of time, or maybe it will not give the up to benchmark performance when I'll add more disk that's already overloaded. So there could be number of limitations. Okay. So are we good now? What is disk group? How many disk group we can create? Okay. And what is the limitation of disk groups? What is the configuration of vSAN? We should consider it, right?
Yeah, 1 second, Kul. So what will the maximum configuration? How many capacity we can keep and how many? Can you repeat
Capacity does
one?
not matter.
Okay.
Okay, then that's what, let me just explain you.
Yeah.
One disk group, one
Okay.
one cache, 7 capacity.
Okay. 7. Okay, that's the maximum. Okay.
Yes, but size of capacity, it's matter on you. Okay.
Okay.
So one disk group, one cache, CA, I'm mentioning it, 7 capacity.
Okay.
That is what is the disk's limit. Okay, number of disk limit.
Okay.
But if you'll say, sir, is there any cap of this capacity? No. So what should we take? At least 10%. My cache should not be always equal size. Let me tell you. Cache would be 10% of your total capacity. Like for example, you are taking 7 disks, each is 10 TB, then it will become 70 TB. Correct?
Correct.
Then it
We have
should
7 TB of
be
cache.
10% is recommended. Okay. Even you have more than that, that's also fine. But you don't need to spend the equal whenever you are making some purchasing decision. Definitely it will reduce your cost. You should not take the equal size of cache. Okay. As I said, maximum you can go up to 5 disks.
5 disk groups. Okay.
When we are planning
in a
the
cluster.
no, per node. Per node.
Per node. Okay.
Per
Okay.
node. Okay. Per node you can go up to
5 disk groups.
5 disk group. Okay. So it's a simple calculation. If I will take 5 disk group, each disk group I want 1 cache. It means I need total 5 cache. Correct? and
Correct.
a 35 capacity
Okay.
drives. Okay. How much cluster life? Again, it's depend upon you. It can go the standard cluster 3 to 64. This is the nodes limit actually. Okay.
Maximum 64
Nodes
nodes.
limit,
Okay.
yeah. When we are planning size should be my cache drive should be 10, at least 10% of my capacity drive. Clear?
Yes, clear, clear. Yeah, thank you, sir.
Kuldeep, if I take 5 disk groups in a single node,
Huh.
remaining all nodes should be 5 disk groups only.
Absolutely right.
It should be homogeneous.
Absolutely right.
Oh,
Because
oh.
I told you, like if we'll take less than 5 on another, then it will factor only the minimum one, which host have the minimum disk group, and it will
Okay.
take. Okay.
Okay. In one disk group, I can increase 2 cache
No.
from one cache.
No.
We should be
One
only
disk
one
group,
cache.
one cache. Right.
One cache.
Yes.
I can decrease 7 capacity to 5, 4.
You can take minimum 1 capacity, maximum 7.
Maximum 7. Okay. Thank you.
Kuldeep, 1 second. How about the blades? Okay, so we can keep one Cisco blade and one Dell blade. It will support, or we can keep all Dell blades on
The
the
configuration
hardware part.
from the each providers.
Okay.
I mean, it should be homogeneous at all.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. So this is more explaining about the capacity and cache tier. What we say the hybrid disk group that I have just explained you. In hybrid, my capacity would be my HDD drive, and the cache will be always your SSD drive. Okay. So the ratio of read and write, by default read write ratio of caching the data, because we do have a lot of reads instead of write, it is 70 to 30%. Okay. However, if we want to change this value, we can change from the cache setting. Capacity tier is my HDD. All reads serves through cache tier. Writes are acknowledged when arrive at the cache tier. Require at least 1 GB of network across for the communication across the host. It require 1 GB bandwidth for the vSAN traffic to go from one host to another host. Then in all flash disk group, we referred as my cache tier will be SSD. My capacity tier will also be SSD. Okay. So reads served from capacity tier directly, and cache tier allocated exactly 100%. In this case, there is no much role of reading of cache tier, because my SSD itself have a capacity to read, I mean to give the read contents directly to my VMs. So definitely be getting the faster performance. Wherever we recommend to keep the 10 Gbps bandwidth on the host for across the host communication. So this network channel should be 10 GB dedicatedly. Okay, especially when you are using the vSAN all flash drive. All right, clear? Yes, no, any question?
No questions. All clear.
No.
Processing the processing little bit.
Okay. So these are some deeper level of terminology where we see the architecture compromise. These are all software component like cluster level object manager. That's primarily storing the data on cluster level. DOM, that is distributed object manager, that will distribute the, like for example, if data is coming here, how the data being written to the underlying host, to the underlying data store. That is my distributed object manager, how my data will be distributed, whatever the as per the storage policy to the underlying ASX side. Local log structure, object manager itself just to keep the logs. Then who is the cluster member, okay, monitoring them by integration with directory services that is being taken care by. All are the underlying process actually, don't need to be very too much on that. And the reliable datagram transport that we refer as RDT, just taking care of transportation of my data from here to there. Any case of failure happen, how my data will be accessed to the virtual machines. So these are all my underlying software components. So this all like, I mean, Definitely, this is my we can refer it is my delivery truck, which is been taking care like just an architecture level. It's understand the CLOM functionality, DOM functionality. LOSM is my kind of worker, and CMDD as it works as it's compared with the IT project actually. How my I mean all the components work. Like my CMDDS component work as a manager. LOSM that will define the local state worker. Contractor is my DOM, and architect is my CLOM that will take the decision actually where and how data should be written. Yeah, that's it for this module. What we want to cover, just an introduction part and how it goes, how it look like all. Yeah, still if we have any question, again I'm saying this is just an high level of view. The primary purpose to understanding about what is vSAN, what are the different architecture being supported by vSAN, and then the this group at least we should understand about it. Okay. So that's the purpose of this module. Still, if we have some question that's directly related to this module, we'll be happy to take that.
No, sir. I think good session. We'll revise. I think most of the stuff
Yes,
is
yes.
still there, sir. But sometimes there are stuff like what you explained about the disk capacity and different type of modules for
Yeah.
vSAN. Like different
Yeah, this is only to give you the trailer of picture like what you are going to see inside.
Okay.
So that now you understand your picture would be more interesting, right? Like
Yes, sir.
Yeah, trailer is good. This is good movie and all.
Okay. So now like sufficient time you have, it will prepare your mental year where I should go, what I was hearing in vSAN, only adding some disk, just checking this is my cluster data. This is beyond that. This is Gadar 2 actually. So probably you have heard about that. The trailer making a lot of noise for Gadar 2 movie. So in updated we'll be getting a lot. Okay. I think Sarvan and Sridhar also understand Hindi too in a well manner, right?
Yeah, I can understand.
Shravan, yeah, Shravan. Yeah,
You
okay, you can understand, yes.
okay.
समझ आते हैं थोड़ा मतलब I can manage, okay.
Yeah,
कैसे
manage.
आप
Good. Sounds
Sir, PPT can you share in WhatsApp group?
1 second, huh?